is part of the preparatory and preliminary processes in the African National Congress, and my own indication will be voiced at Nasrec like it was even in the previous period. So, but to watch and see members who've been here for almost half the day, sitting patiently and being willing to participate in a process that underpins the very good democratic culture in the ANC is most impressive, and for me personally, it's humbling. And it's also a joy to be in the midst of fellow members of the branch of the ANC. I had to produce my ID and I was scanned, my ID was scanned. They had to check whether I'm a member in good standing or not. So that to me is a very good check and balance, that no one can just barge in a meeting of a branch of the ANC, including myself. So being present here, I was not present as the president of the ANC, I was present as a mere member. And I was under the leadership of the branch leaders, the chair, the secretary, and all of them. So it is good sometimes to be on the ground, to be on terra firma, and to be led by other members and other leaders. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sidi Madia.
You said that you were here as an ordinary branch member of the ANC, but when you know, your branch or fellow branch members were electing and nominating other names, I noticed that you didn't pick up your hand for any of those names. Why is that so? Why didn't you take part in the nomination process?
Well, not every member who was here raised their hand, and so it was with me as well, because as a member I want to have a sense of what fellow members think, and I will have my own opportunity at conference as I vote to express my own thoughts and views.
Two questions. Sidi Madia from Eyewitness News. You already answered the one question I had for you, but the back and forth that happened between Electoral Chair Kgalema Motlanthe and KZN around provincial executive committees making pronouncements before branches. This was a conference of branches. KZN hitting back saying, well, you spoke out too late. The horse long bolted. In fact, it happened in January, in Limpopo, January 8th, when Stan Matabat endorsed you, and you did not reprimand. The issues around the fact that this happens around leadership of the ANC, and you've said nothing at all throughout that period. I just want to get your comment on that. Secondly, what are your thoughts when you're listening to the names that come up from the members of the ANC, and you've even the PECs? There are no women. Nomvula Mokonyan is but one in a deputy position at that. There's a conversation about young people coming to the fore. I think Pule Mabe and Ronald here and there. That says something about the succession conversation in the ANC. Your thoughts around those two issues, please.
Well, on the first issue, the Electoral Committee has been getting into full stride in terms of working on the rules, finalizing them, and they have now finalize all those rules. And yes, there is an issue about provinces pronouncing ahead of branches, but in the end it is the conference of branches, and even as conferences and provinces may pronounce, in the end it is those branch delegates who are in the end going to tick on the names that will be on the ballot box. So this process is evolving, and there may well be some missteps along the way, but in the end it all culminates in a fairly well managed process which the electoral committee will manage. And the culture of the ANC to be democratic in what it does is not going to be diluted. It is going to be reconfirmed, even with some of these missteps, because the missteps themselves are not really going to kill the culture of the ANC. And as we move on, that culture will become even better with the new rules and regulations that are put in place. So much as some of those things have happened and the Electoral Committee has expressed itself, it is going to be a guide for how we proceed forward. The ANC is committed on gender equality, and we are going to see that emerging very strongly at the conference itself, notwithstanding in certain places the absence of nominations of women, particularly in key positions. The message that and the principle of gender equality cannot be undermined. And I want to say to you, it will be reconfirmed at the conference. Let's see this as a nomination process which is going to be properly managed and which is going to sift properly as we get to conference. Conference is the final arbiter. So that is the forum that is going to decide, and my own conviction is that issues of gender equality will be upheld at that conference.
Mr. President, Aviwe Mtila from eNCA, are you in touch with the branch itself and what happens in Shawela? Because the people here suggest that you're out of tune with their service delivery woes. For example, one gentleman mentioning he hasn't had electricity for the last 4 months and a number of service delivery issues on the ground. And maybe secondly, what would you highlight as the successes of your presidency in the last 5 years in Shawela for the people here? Maybe your key successes that you'd say that this is what you've done for the people.
Well, the second one, I don't serve the people of Chiawelo only as president. If I did that, there would be a huge complaint around the country that he's just focusing on the place where he comes from. And I want to also say that leaders must avoid focusing just on their own birthplaces or where they live, because when we are elected, we serve the whole country. And we serve the whole country by ensuring that there are good policies, there are good processes, and there's good governance. So to say, what did you specifically do for the people of Chiawera or Chiaweka, this branch, would actually be misplaced, because it would actually put me directly in the firing line of a whole lot of other comrades and people, not only comrades, but people of South Africa, that he's one of those leaders who just focuses on his area. What we should focus on is precisely what is being done from a service delivery point of view. This area, this place is facing exactly the same challenges that many other places in the country are facing. I'm very much in touch with what's happening on the ground here, the electricity challenges. And I once came here and addressed precisely that. And one of the problems that we have here is that, for instance, there are electricity blow-ups, that is, and blow-ups is the right word, where the power generator in the area, it's called the transformer. And I came to address this issue. Transformer is installed by ESCOM, and then it is either stolen or it blows up because of illegal connections. I stood precisely here in this venue and addressed that. And even as I addressed it, our people understood, because I told them fact and details that transformers were installed. There were about 3 or 4 transformers that had been installed right here. And illegal connections, which they also know about and admitted, get the transformers to blow up. And even now, they were telling me and they were saying, it's not the fault of ESCOM or whatever, it is our own doings, even as residents here, because there are many people who have done illegal connections. And the other service delivery challenges are no different from the service delivery challenges that our metro is dealing with. And fortunately now we have an ANC mayor who's going to be installed soon, who's going to lead the process of the rejuvenation of this metro, and service delivery should improve. I have to run to Pretoria.
One more, Mr. President. I just want to know, why do you think that you deserve a second term?
Well, it's not I who as nominating myself. It's the branches of the ANC who are nominating, and I'd like you to take a step and go and ask them. They are right here, because they are the ones who are expressing that view. And once the nomination process is done, it goes to the conference, and that is where one voices an acceptance of.
Do you think you've led with some level of courage throughout this tenure? As a leader of the ANC, do you think you've been courageous in your approach to challenges facing this party? And I say this with your staffers going to picket, tomorrow rather. And I mean, I've raised this with you before, that money spent on elections, but your staffers, your basic workers, are not getting paid. In fact, they're hampering this entire process too. It has to be extended because they are on a stay away. Have you led with the necessary courage for this party?
Well, the challenges that the ANC is facing, both as a party and also in government, are huge. And at party level, the financial challenges we're facing are out there for everyone to see. Financial resources for political parties, especially the ANC, have dried up because of the legislation we've put in place, and those who used to fund the ANC because of the disclosure processes are now holding back. And as a result, the enormous expenses that the ANC goes through becomes under a great deal of pressure, and we therefore have to scrounge around. I mean, the Treasurer General basically spends his time scrounging around for money from those who would donate to the ANC, and I have a great deal of understanding for the plight of the workers of the ANC, because they are not often paid on time, and we continue to work to raise the money that should go towards paying them. And that becomes successful at times and delayed, but our commitment is that those who work for the ANC must be paid. Thank you very much.
And courage as a leader? Do you think you've led with courage, with some level of courageousness, as Cyril Ramaphosa, president of the ANC?
Yeah, I mean, that we can discuss at some stage, because many people have their own views. This has been a huge challenge, and I know of no president who has led during the type of pandemic that we've had who was hugely challenged, as our people were dying, as unemployment was rising, the economy was going down, the unrest that had an impact on our economy, and the type of floods that we have had. So all these challenges have come one after another, and they have been addressed. They have been addressed, and of course people can judge whether that has been sufficient or not. But I have been very clear in saying, having been elected, I must address all these challenges that face our people, and have done so to the very best of my ability in terms of addressing all these challenges. A number of people often say, President, you got into office at the wrong time. You get into office to even address state capture. And yes, that has been my lot as a president, but I have given it the best shot and will continue to do so in service to the people of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
The country's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, well, ANC president as well, Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that in fact he has given the presidency his best shot. Of course, that's after he himself has just been nominated as the preferred ANC candidate going to the December election by the branch really where he cut his teeth. That is the Chiaweka branch in Siawelo, where the president Cyril Ramaphosa grew up. We heard the other 5 nominations, the preferred candidates of Ward 11 in Zone 4 in Soweto. The deputy president there being Paul Mashatile, the SG Dumiseni Ntuli, and the DSG Nomvula Mogonyane, and as well as the TG, Treasurer General, the person that holds the purse of the African National Congress, being preferred to be Pule Mabe, the current national spokesperson of the ANC. The president, of course, leaving this very moment, saying that he has to rush to Pretoria, but he says that he's given it his best. In fact, mentioning that there is no president in the history of the country that has really faced as much as he has as the president of the country, mentioning, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, which one of the people that we spoke to a bit earlier on said that coincidentally ended COVID-19. Also mentioning the July unrest, for example, the floods in KwaZulu-Natal and some areas of the Eastern Cape, saying that he has faced and dealt with those issues. The question then will be if he has done so adequately. As you see, the convoy, presidential convoy now actually on its way following those nominations by the Chiaweka branch in Shawelo, Soweto, where the president actually grew up.
Yeah, Aviwe, I mean, it was a fascinating conversation that was coming through there from that interaction between the ANC president and members of the media there, the journalists gathered there, in particular because, you know, it was quite revealing in terms of his state of mind about how well or how badly he has performed as president of the country, as you rightfully say, saying that some people say he came into office, quote unquote, at the wrong time with the confluence of all of these problems that have beset the country in the last while. And I think that more or less took center stage more than the issues around the ANC and ANC processes themselves. So just run those nominations for us, by us once again, Aviwe, because earlier on I was saying that part of what is happening there is the nomination process, and I was saying that it might be awkward if someone at that branch believes that Cyril Ramaphosa should not return as ANC president, but rather someone else should take over the leadership of the ANC. Was there even such a conversation? How robust was the conversation around leadership at that particular branch?
Well, at first it was a bit surprising to me myself, Pratulas, given that the nomination from the president came from the floor. It was seconded and people raised up their hands to say that, in fact, they want him to be president. They moved on without having another name on the floor. That happened with the deputy presidency as well as the SG nomination, up until one of the people on the ground went on to raise the issue if they must officially close then the nominations then. And that's only when the presiding officer went back and actually checked if there are any further nominations, while more like telling them, we all agree with the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa, and it was done therefore. So the first three weren't even contested. It was only when the DSG nomination came into play, the first nomination there was of Ronald Lamola, and that didn't get much hype on the ground. People didn't really follow it. The name of Nomvula Makwanyane came up then, which was largely supported, and the name of Phoebe Potgieter also came up, which didn't get much support as well. The other name that was also contested was the position of the Treasurer General. That position then was, the nomination of Dr. Chauke came up on the floor, but Pule Mabe and the support that he got on the ground as a preferred candidate going to the December elections preceded that. So the top six then that going to the conference is the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa, preferred by Ward 11 in Zone 4 Soweto. Deputy President Paul Mashatile, the DSG Nomvula Makonyane, the SG Secretary General being Mtumseni Ntuli, the Chair Stan Matabata, and Pule Mabe, the current national spokesperson, being then the Treasurer General that's preferred to lead the African National Congress going into the elective conference then in December. Those then will get to respond officially on the floor, on the conference floor, if they actually accept or decline the nominations.